This special meeting was called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Home News Tribune on February 26, 2020. In addition, copies of the notice were posted on the borough's website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on a aforementioned date. Notice on the bulletin board has remained continuously posted. Proper notice has been given. The municipal clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Minutes of this meeting should also reflect the purpose for which this meeting was called. A call to order. We'll salute the flag in a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, Ted said he'll be here about 15 or 20 minutes
Okay.
late. He's on the phone to have a body.
I just wanted to make sure he remembered it was 7 and not 7:30.
Yeah, he knows.
Councilman Ritchie. Councilman Rivera.
Here.
Councilman Malillo.
Here.
Councilman Spacuzzo.
Here?
Council President Kramer.
Here.
Mayor Sealy.
Here.
All right, so I guess
Start with water sewer.
right now we'll start with water and sewer.
Come on up.
Fire away with questions.
So I was fortunate enough to speak to Fred before everyone else got here, and he was explaining to me about some of the capital requests that he put in. So which was good because he clarified, because there's quite a few, there's actually water tower painting, new water tower, replacement of Main Street water main, and replaced filters on the Daniel Water Treatment Plant, which are three very costly items. So before I talked to Fred, I wrote myself a little note. My concern is if we put all of these items off to 2022, that's a significant amount of money that we're gonna have to try to budget for in a year or two.
Well, the filters are for 2021.
Okay, yes, right, correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But then what Fred also clarified for me too was, and I'm just reiterating this for the rest of the council, the water tower painting, which is 1.2, or the new water tower, which is 3, you wouldn't have to do both. It's one or the other. I was under the impression that it was, the existing tower had to be painted, and the new water tower would be a new water tower installed. I didn't realize, so I thought that was a $4.2 million hit in 2 years. I didn't realize it was one or the other. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone else on the dais knew that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to suggest that we don't repaint it if we're going to repaint.
Well, exactly. So,
The issue I got with that water tower,
sorry?
the water tower right now existing, wasn't there a pump at the bottom of that thing?
At the bottom of the tower? No.
Yeah.
No.
Somebody was saying there was a pump there, used to be a pump
That
that
was
to...
taken.
A
Somebody's-
booster pump? That might have been
Yeah.
at the tower that was on
Burlington?
Burlington at one time.
Okay.
Bruce's concern is that, as you know, the pressure comes from the weight of the water being up
Right.
in the air. And so only the upper part of the tower currently is supplying the pressure. What Bruce wants to do is put a different design of a tank, like a sphere, so that all of the volume of water is supplying that pressure, rather than just a portion that's currently being utilized.
How much of the existing tower is,
I think Bruce can go to a smaller tower. Currently, it's 1.5 million gallons, that standpipe. On a very busy day between Labor Day and Memorial Day, we'll use 1 million gallons of water a day. And as you know, we're under contract with East Brunswick. We purchase 400,000 gallons a day. So basically with that, Daniel Road, especially in the wintertime, is hardly running at all. Daniel Road is actually supplementing what's needed. What are we using today around,
In the wintertime,
yeah, right now about?
probably 100,000.
Yeah, so
Maybe less.
We're not pumping a whole lot of water right now. So anyway, Bruce, with the sphere, it'll provide better fire protection too, because as we've had a few structure fires.
Right.
During my employment here. And the one on Adirondack, as you know, when you
Right.
tried to open more than one hydrant, you're
Yeah, we lost pressure.
big time.
Right.
So having a different design and having all of that volume up in the air is going to provide for better fire protection too. And I think that's along the lines of Bruce's thinking. And he had mentioned that he might want to put that next to the one that's there at the yard.
And that's the one that's going to cost us 1.5,
No, 3
New tower's 3.
million.
3 million.
But I think with all that volume up in the air, I think he can go to a smaller tank.
Water.
It may not have to be 1.5 million gallons. But I would ask Bruce about that.
Okay. On that tank, can we put some kind of a pump that will give us the pressure from there?
You can always use a booster pump. You can tie that into the system. You're talking strictly fire protection. It could be done. I don't know that it would be needed. You have pumps on your fire trucks, right? So when you hook up to a hydrant, you're actually using the truck as the booster pump.
Right.
What was also explained to me was the painting of the water tower, just to keep in mind. And Fred would be able to explain this more, what he was saying was, you only have so many years before it gets in too disarray before you can before you can do that again. So it might get to a point where we can't repaint it. So that's just something to keep in mind also.
Right. Well, that painting of that tower has been going on for now 3 years.
Weren't we doing something with that water tower where Bruce had talked about this some time back?
Yeah, that's what we're about, painting it, and also
All about putting it
going.
into some other, an asset company was taking it over and they would maintain it at a fixed fee, for us. Did we ever do that, Joe?
No,
Okay,
I think it was discussed. I don't think it ever
we never went there. Okay.
went forward.
And that's because of the potentially building a new tower.
So all that being said on the capital side, does anyone have any questions? I don't have anything.
Okay, I know Main Street's main, we need to replace them. Because they just keep, every winter, like, you have 3 or 4, and it just keeps on. That has to get done.
And we agree. If we had to prioritize any one thing, and Kevin can attest to this, he's the one that's actually facilitating the repairs, but Main Street would be a priority, that and the George Street plant. The other things could be put off. But as you all know, I'm going to be retiring soon, and it wasn't my intention to throw all of these things at the council at once, but just to make council aware that these things are going to be needed to be addressed in the future. So, yeah, you could put some of these things off and plan it. And again, I would ask Bruce the priority on how these things should be laid out and planned for. But like Councilman Jose just said, the Main Street, we've had how many? We've had a lot of breaks, right, Kevin?
Yeah, about
15 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were just talking about that
on Main
before.
Street, just talking with Kevin about that a couple
We were
minutes
just
ago.
talking about that a few minutes ago.
So, yeah, I agree that would probably be the priority if you were going to address one thing, right?
I think so.
Keep in mind, the 930,000 is just to do the water main, okay?
The issue is, once we tear out Main Street, we're gonna have to redo the entire Main Street. We are at our expense, so you gotta add that in there as well.
Right, because they,
How old is
Only
Main
X
Street
amount of
now?
years.
2 years?
2 years. We could wait until,
At this point, I would say we wait until the county doesn't make us repave curb to curb.
Well,
we can get
the
away
county
with-
gives us a little more notice than they usually do. Because I'm sure we all run around here like mad when they finally show up to pave the road.
Right.
We get hardly any notice. And this project is probably gonna take the better part of a year. 'Cause that's a long run.
But if we do it now, we have to pave curb to curb because it's less than 3 years old.
Well, we're getting ready to do George Street. Okay, that's gonna go out for bid, George Street. It'd be a good idea if this, spoke to Kevin, I'm sure.
because we got to hook up to George Street.
Right, and when you do, you're gonna have a brand-new pumping station pumping into an
Exactly.
old water main.
And it's a stronger pumping station too, so.
But how long
Just like
before
we
that pumping
talked about
station
it.
goes online?
Huh?
How long before that station goes online?
Well, if everything goes all right with George Street, it probably should be going online very early 2022.
so potentially we can hold off this project till 21, start it then and have it finish up the same time as the plant.
On top of which, we should probably reach out to the county and say, when's the next year you're planning on doing Main Street? And make them aware of the fact that we're gonna replace this entire water main, so we don't get banged every time we cut a hole in the pavement.
Yeah.
And they'll like the idea we're not tearing up the road anymore.
Well, they got to replace also their sewer lines because their sewer lines are collapsing.
Well, that would be on them.
Yeah, but when they dig a hole in the road, they
Yeah.
don't blind themselves.
Right.
It's okay.
We blow a water line.
We can't plan
dig
a water
hole in the
main
road,
break at the
we
same
Oh,
time.
yeah, no, we pay $1,500
don't fine,
fine.
even though it's, you know.
Yeah. No. All right.
I just don't want to see us have to deal with the expense of going.
No, I don't want to pay their road.
No, you don't,
curb to curb.
but you have to keep that in mind when we're doing a project, because I don't know when this project, when their road expires.
It's either 3 years or 5, I can't remember which one was which for the county.
Because this year
I
they're
went
probably-
through that, they wouldn't let me hook up, when I had to put my fire suppression system in the funeral home, they would not let me come in off Main Street with a 30-foot run. They made me run from George Street all the way up. Because the road was too new, they wouldn't give me a road opening permit. That was 2 years ago. We may
So
be
that was 2 years. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good
Entering our
time.
third.
21,
I think
21.
it was 2 years old, it was, you know, in the second year, so here we are, we're in the fourth year perhaps of Main Street. So in 21, we
So we
might
got to
get
find
that
out, yeah,
5
we
years.
might be, yeah, we have to find out that.
We might be on the bingo at that
So
point.
maybe we just talk to Bruce and the county together and find out exactly when we can start this project
Yep.
and plan it. So we'll know when they're gonna tear it up, so we'll probably tear it up, obviously, put the main in, but we'll know that we're not gonna get socked.
But we're not going to
Doing
pave
that.
it curb to curb.
Yeah, I agree.
At least now we know we'll be able to use the hot box to fix it.
Yeah. He's gonna get its use out of it.
A couple of boxes, that's a long run.
Not talking about with pipes blown on Main Street for winter, well, winter's over.
Bite your tongue.
Just the pipe is gone because it's old. I mean, winter's over. We survived this one.
No, we had a couple that in the summertime that busted.
Happens to
I'm
you.
not-
Okay, what's next?
I'm saying we're prematurely saying, it's like,
All right, anybody else have any questions for them?
Go home. She coughed, out.
no, I'm good.
John, you got any questions? Ted?
Good. I missed the first half, but no, I'm.
No, you did, we were just talking about
Yeah,
that. That's
it's
all.
pretty much everything that we talked about was the same thing.
Anything you guys want?
I'd just like to thank the council for the opportunity that you all gave me. Working for Spotswood has certainly been a pleasure. And I met a lot of good people here, fell in love with your town. I never even knew Spotswood existed, and I'm, born and raised in New Jersey. So I'd just like to thank you all.
Well, Fred,
Thank you
thank you too.
Thank you
because-
for your service to the town.
Yes, you've been a good asset to our borough.
I think I leave the town in good hands with Kevin and Chris. They've obtained their licensing, and they're both very smart, and hardworking, and I think it'll be good for the borough.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Have fun at the golf course.
Good luck with the fish. The fish, not the golf course, the fish.
Make sure you get enough golf balls, okay?
Good night, gentlemen.
And if you hit it in a pond, don't go after it.
Good night.
Night.
The alligators are there.
On a good note of that, Kevin moves up, we'll all be dead by the time he's ready to retire.
Well, maybe not Charlie, he's still young.
Yeah, maybe not Charlie, and probably outlive us all, that smile.
I don't know.
Charlie's the younger one out of all of us.
All right,
Only by
so,
number.
only
Only
by
a number.
It's true. So who else do we have besides the police department? There's nobody else here, right?
Nobody else here, but I will tell you that the fire marshal's budget is completely unchanged.
Okay. So we'll leave that alone. So I
Public
guess.
Works,
Public Works,
they're golden.
yeah, he couldn't make it tonight. I spoke to him on the phone. Rob said he had a prior commitment, he couldn't make it. And they're pretty much happy with
Yeah, I didn't think there was much of it.
what they got, so.
So I do, if you don't mind, I have a couple things I'd like to bring up real quick, Larry.
Go ahead.
I spoke to Pat about that Oprah software, and I spoke to Joe a little bit about it too. It's GovPilot is the name of the system. It's $6,500 a year fee, and it's a 5-year contract. The company is raising its fees, and it's going to go up to $1,000 a year. Or, I'm sorry, it's going to double. It's going to go up to $12,000 a year.
12,000?
Yeah. However, Pat spoke to him, and they said that if we let them know by the end of March, they would stick to the $6,500 a year. I think it's a good idea.
Is that for the duration of the contract?
Well, I had a couple questions that Pat was going to call tomorrow. That's for all 5 years, they lock us in at 65?
On that, I would have to find out.
Yeah,
Because
so-
we really didn't talk to them. They just sent the email, but it's per year, $6,500, and I would make sure that it didn't go to that double.
Right. And the other question that I...
This is for the Oprah stuff.
Yes, correct, the software. The other question I had was, because Joe had said that it's used in other towns, and certain parts of the software might not be the best. So I'm going to ask Pat to reach out to the company and see if they would give us a 30 or 60-day trial, that we can tell them that we'll do it come the end of March, if we decide that we want to go that way, and lock in at the $6,500, but let them know that we want a 30 or 60-day trial period that we could back out, instead of getting locked in for 5 years if the ladies don't think it's a good fit. So Pat was going to call tomorrow.
And then a clause for all 5 years where you have 30 or 60 days to give them notice to get out also, if you're not satisfied. So in year 2 or 3, you might be satisfied for a couple of years, and all of a sudden you're not using it. There's usually like a 60-day clause in there where you can give them notice that you want to get rid of it, you know?
Okay.
Or the next January 1st, you get rid of it.
Right.
There's usually
So
something
you-
they'll put in there.
You check some of these towns that have that program?
We have it.
Or
South
they have
River has it. yeah.
If they're happy.
But we don't
with
have the Oprah part of it, though, so I'm not sure how the Oprah part is.
That's the problem with it.
it. We know any towns that have it?
Yeah, there was one town, one or two towns that said they have the Oprah and they like it.
Okay, they like it and everything? Okay.
So,
You guys using South River for Oprah?
Just regular. The clerk gets
The old-fashioned
handwritten
way?
stuff and
Okay.
makes copies and gives it to the departments, and they fill them.
Okay.
so that's what I wanted to bring up on that. So,
All right.
anything else?
So we're going to do a temporary budget emergency in Monday's meeting, because you have to do it for the second quarter. So I'm going to put that money in there so you can at least cut a purchase order by March 31st if you want to. If that's okay with you guys?
It's up to
Yeah.
council.
So you'll see then, so after it's approved, it'll be in Edmonds, and Pat, you can enter a requisition.
Okay.
All right?
All right. So I guess the only thing left is the police department.
Last week, when we talked about it, I didn't see my capital sheet. It was buried in between all these other things. And I knew they were looking for 4 cars. I didn't see that administration approved 2 of those cars. I thought they were getting all 4. That's why I suggested that we trade 1 car for 1 cop. After talking to Joe yesterday, he said there's a couple of ways that we can bring the 1 cop on board and stay with the 2 cars administration approved and still stay at that 3.9 or right there about. So based on that, I would like to see it go that direction. You've got a guy that's been assigned out to DEA for quite a bit of time. As the chief said when he was here last week, he's been involved in multi-million-dollar seizures that we're going to get the percentage of at some point. That money can be used for anything police-related except salaries. So if that's the case and we're anticipating several $100,000 coming in forfeitures, then let's give them the cop, let's give them the 2 cars. They got the 2 pickup trucks that basically sat unused for an entire year. That's their other 2, that's their other 2 newest vehicles. And when forfeiture money comes in, if they really need a couple of cars that bad, they can buy them out of the forfeiture funds. The prosecutor will sign right off on that. It's basically to buy equipment for them. So I would like to see it go that way. I think it's probably the wisest financial move we can make. We're keeping it as close to no more increase as we can possibly do it. And Joe can expand on it a little bit more, but
After we spoke yesterday, I went and did a little calculation. If you buy 3 police cars at $75,000 each, comes to $225,000. You'll get a 5-year useful life for MCIA. Comes to about $45,000 principal. Interest, maybe about 2%, will be about $4,500. So you're looking at about a $50,000 principal and interest payment in 2021. One of the 2015 leases goes away, which was $24,309.72. So you'd have to increase the budget just for MCIA portion, about $25,190. If you bought 2 cars, it would be $150,000, divided by 5 is $30,000 principal. Interest at 2% would be about $3,000, so you're looking at about $33,000. Take away the $24,000 that's going away in '21, you're on the hook for about $8,600. So it's a difference of around $17,000. The problem going forward is your debt service is going to start increasing significantly starting in 2021 in both water, sewer. I know we just talked about projects here that are much needed, but we still haven't borrowed any money yet on the George Street project and the Cottage Street projects. You're looking at millions and millions of dollars that you have to borrow going forward in 2021 and forward. Debt service impact here is going to be significant going forward. So I'm just throwing this out there. 2021, a lease goes away for $37,000, so either you split it up, maybe wait for the DEA money, hopefully it comes in, you can use it for cars, and maybe if you don't, then in 2021 for 22, you purchase a couple other cars also to make it even.
The problem is that, again, we're relying on the feds, and the feds, again, we don't know when. That money was supposed to be here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And
I don't know
still,
when it's coming
nothing.
either. I have no idea when it's going to come.
The other thing, too, is the 2 pickup trucks replaced the Dodges that they had.
no, I get that. But they sat unused for months and months because no radios were in them.
Why was the radios on it? Because they froze the purchase one on them.
But the point is that they sat there, they're still as close to new as possible because they didn't get used for whatever the reason was. To me, it seems like it would be better to give them the cop. That's what they want. He wants to hire this female. She's qualified. Great.
They also have, Ted, they also have
Smooth the
2
money
Crown
around.
Vics that gotta go.
What's going to be the
Crown Vics are-
percentage of it? I know when me and you talked, and Larry, you said we're still, with the 3 cars, we're going to be at what, 3.99?
You could, depending on what debt service is next year. See, the problem with the NJI Bank that we have applications down there is we don't know if we're approved yet. In May, they approve the next round. If you don't make the next round, because there's 1 million people in the hopper right now that they're trying to dish out a lot of money to, you have to wait till November. If you do get in the queue and get the money, you're going to start paying back probably $150,000, $200,000 of principal and interest to NJI Bank, which is like almost 2.5% increase right off the bat before you talk about cars, salaries, anything next year, So you do have a large spike in debt service coming, whether it's 21 or 22. Most likely it'll be 21, but it could be if the iBank doesn't give you the funding till the following year, it could be in 22, but it's not looking pretty in Spotswood for debt service going forward. So,
And I understand that, but the issue too is we can't restrict the police from being able to do their job. And since those two cars really shouldn't be used as police cars anymore,
Which two cars?
the two Crown Vics that are still sitting in the route out there.
The 3 crowns.
Well, 3 of them, one of them could be repurposed for code enforcement, so they don't have to use that 20-year-old pickup truck. But the other thing too is myself and Jose went down South Jersey today, and we looked at ambulances. There's a company down there that puts a Horton box on top of a brand-new chassis and a brand-new, everything's new, and they redo the box, and it's under the $150,000 that's allotted for a new ambulance. The other thing too is Doug had a little misinformation. The new ambulance isn't $150,000. They're around $240,000. So even if we went to buy them a new ambulance, we would have to increase the $150,000 to $240,000. So we're going to save probably $15,000 on that $150,000 allotted for the ambulance. That should help a little bit with the third car.
Well, we were figuring on 150 for the ambulance anyway, right?
that was in there.
Yeah, but
That's what was in the capital
Yeah, that's
request.
what I thought it was.
But if you went out and bought a brand-new ambulance, you'd have to crank that up to $240,000. That's what the new ambulances are going for.
Where'd he get his number from?
He's from one of those little skinny ambulances you see transporting people up and down the street. They're top-heavy. They have a tendency to
But he
fall
said, 'cause I
over.
had suggested that there was Sprinter, he said, no, you didn't want it because it was top-heavy, they tip over.
That's the only thing that's $150,000. You buy one like we have now, you're talking $240,000. So, and we,
How is this company doing it
Check
for
into
100 grand less?
They're remounted.
they're remounted.
The remounts, okay.
They're remounts.
It's a new
whole brand
chassis, new
chassis,
frame.
Brand new whole
Then they
chassis.
take the other box, the
They
Horton
take-
box, and they redo the whole thing and then put it on the,
They refurbish the whole box and
So
everything.
what are they gonna take, one of our ambulances and do it?
no.
No,
We
they
buy
got
that
one.
one outright. Then you could do it with one of our other ambulances at another date.
Wait, what are we buying outright? The whole
The whole
rig?
thing, the whole thing is $126,000.
So they already bought somebody else's equipment up and they're just remounting it to a new chassis?
Right. They put it on
I
a
got
new
you.
chassis.
You
And
call
they-
them glider kits.
Yeah, we went down there, you couldn't tell it wasn't new. It even had the new car smell in the box and everything. I went inside the box, I looked around, everything is top of the line. It's a
They do-
Horton box.
Yeah, they redo everything, the whole inside, and they also do all the new lighting and everything like that. They're LEDs.
All LEDs.
And the two that we see down there, one was a E350, and that was 121. The other one that,
One is drive it out the door, ready to
Right,
put your
out the
cot in
door,
it,
yep.
2 people in the front seat?
yep, the only thing we gotta do is the graphics. That's it.
Okay.
And the other one was a which one I just said? E450 was the one we seen. That was the 136. The E350 is what we have right now. Like we have right now. That was 121.
And it also has been
Are these things all-wheel drive or
Upgraded.
just rear-wheel drive?
rear-wheel drive,
Yeah. so
Are they gas or diesel?
Diesels.
diesels.
And they come with a warranty and
They
everything?
come with as if
Yeah.
you were
Like you bought a brand
brand
new
new
car.
vehicle. Yeah.
So I don't see why we wouldn't go that route. if
And then
this
and
is-
the other thing too is,
He-
because we can
he
buy it
emailed
from the
me
same
all
people
the-
we get in the
The
fire truck
specs.
from, we get a $4,000 discount.
So let me ask you this too.
Now it's 117 instead of 121.
If we're going to purchase this outright, do we have a rig right now that it's going to replace? that we can,
Yeah, you're just replacing the van.
so can we give him that and they can start, do we get a discount if we give them something
Van
else?
is the one that's totaled.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's the one that you
I got
cannot
you.
use.
So we're not, I didn't, because if we were replacing a box,
Well, we
I would
have-
say we'll give you the box, because all they do is refurbish them and
What
move out
happens,
them.
what's happening now is this, they have two boxes. Okay, one box is the one that they bought from East Brunswick. That is a Horton box. Now, later on, if we want to, okay, we could try, instead of buying, see, look if they could remount that one, ours.
Yeah.
Later, okay? But for right now, they need that rig, because if one goes down, we're
No,
in
I
violation that
I
we don't
understand that
have
we
two
need,
rigs.
right, I understand that we need the rig. I didn't know what rig we were replacing with this one.
The van.
That if we could say, okay, we'll give you a box, maybe we can get it for 100,000 instead of 130,000, or
Right.
whatever the case may be. But since we're replacing the van, then my question doesn't matter.
Well, actually, eventually, we can redo another one.
Yeah,
We can
right, but
send that
we're just
out,
talking about
because
the
we'll
first
still
one
have
right
two
now,
vans.
so, yeah.
We'll still
And
have-
they have, and this company also has what they call if we say, okay, we'll give you our rig to remount and everything, they'll give us a loaner.
Okay, so we still have the two that we need.
Except we still would be in shape.
And they're on a state bid list, the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, well, again, they're under the same co-op like we have for the fire truck.
That Houston, Galveston?
Right.
Okay.
So that's all, we could do it right from that and everything, and they give us a discount from that. South River did them remounts.
A couple of years ago, 166,000
For what? For one?
for one. It was I think it's a bigger ambulance.
It's a
though.
bigger
Yeah,
ambulance,
yours
yeah.
is the
it's bigger, yeah.
450.
Yep.
Even that, they're saying it's 130 something.
136.
Yeah.
But they had, on their rig, they have other stuff that they had on that rigs. They added more stuff to that rig. So yeah, you're gonna increase the price on that.
And what's cheaper? I think a new ambulance was 220 at the time, so I think it was about 50, 60,000 less. And they certify that it's the warranties are all there and everything's valid. So, just like a new ambulance would have had.
You guys bring your literature back with you?
He emailed me all the stuff, so I'll print them out and I'll send them all out to everybody.
If you would.
Yep.
Where does that put us if we do one of those ambulances at $120 and change?
Well, the police cars are gonna go through MCIA, so it's a whole different project compared to a bond. This will be a bond ordinance when you buy the ambulances. So,
I'd like to just throw my 2 cents in on the police cars too. I was on the fence with the other officer, as it was. But getting the information here from Joe that we still could hit that 3.9 and add the officer, I'm more inclined to agree with the other officer. However, I don't think that we need 3 cars at this time. I'm willing to do the 2 because that still is within our numbers. And I'm in agreement that we don't know when it's going to come in, but eventually that money will come in and they can purchase 4 more cars for all concerned, because we can't use that money for anything else.
We can't touch it.
Right. Now, I understand, Larry, that you're saying there's 3 cars back there, so now if we get 2 cars, there's only 1 car back there. And they've been making it work this whole year with the fleet that we have. And I have to be honest with you, one of the biggest concerns I get from the residents is our fleet of police vehicles that we have in our outside. I know they've been being used on road jobs and stuff of late, but, I think that we could squeeze, I don't think 1 car is going to make that big of a difference for this year, especially we don't know if it's going to be 2 months or 6 months or 20 months before we get that other money. I just don't think that 3rd car is a big thing for this year. So I'm in agreement that because the numbers work, I'll put another officer on, but I think we should stick with the 2 cars instead of 3.
I think a response is due to the MCIA by March 31st, so you have a couple of weeks to decide, but it's got to come to a decision soon, and then I would let the administrator know what you want her to put on to send to the MCIA. Because they take that information by March 31st, and that's where they get all the stuff from all the towns and figure out what their bond deal will be.
I really think, fiscally responsible thing would be just to do the 2 cars for now. They get the cop, I think the cop working is more important than the cars. I mean, that's just me.
Go ahead, John.
I rode around some cars that had
I'm not
100K
again, I
on
just
them,
want to hear
like
people
these
talk.
guys
Sorry.
did.
Yeah, I want to say something. So you get 3 cars, right? And where do you go from there?
Okay, I thought it was me.
So the discussion now is 2 or 3 cars?
No,
and
let's
the
say
officer.
3. I say 3. Just say 3. I mean, where do you go? You want to say 2? All right, we'll say 2, but that remains to be seen too. Let's say 3. After 3 cars, you're getting 3 good new cars. And then where do you go from there, I'm saying?
For future, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Well, you're going to have to replace cars. I mean, we use them.
I understand. I mean, how many miles I got? Let me tell you something. If I go in there, I got to see I want to see the mileage on these cars. Come on.
You want to show them, Ed?
The mileage of the cars is not.
It's the hours.
It's the hours.
Mileage, come on.
Mileage is mileage, but you know what? I understand one thing about the cars. Even at 60,000, they get beat up because they idle 24 hours a day. I get that part, that you're putting wear and tear
But
on
their
them.
motors they're built for that stuff. Come on.
You know what? I would say to you that the Fords were probably the best cars for that. The Dodges suck. Those things are blowing up. Those Hemys are blowing up left and right. The Fords, you could run those Fords for 130,000 miles and sell to a taxi company that ran
There's
it for
always
another
this and it's
150.
that. If it ain't that, it's this. Come on.
But, some of these newer cop cars are junk. They're junk motors in them. So the hours do matter. But again, it's, to me, 2 cars, 3 cars. You know what? Make do with the best of the 3 that you got out there for the time being. Make that the last spare in the fleet. And take the
You know what's
2
going to
cars and
happen
run
if
with it.
it ever comes to 2? I guarantee you within 1 year or 2 years they want 2 cars.
So 2 years from now, they're going to want 4 new cars.
No.
So the question right now, John.
I'm saying you lower it. If you say 2, you're going to see the following year they might want 1, maybe even 2. You don't know.
They were trying to go every other year. Get 4 cars, don't get any. Get 4 cars, don't get any.
We got to vote on this stuff.
That's the schedule that they were trying to get at.
That's what they were supposed to be at.
It doesn't always work the way things are supposed to be.
I understand that, but
We
they
know
didn't-
that. We've learned this already. It doesn't always work that way.
I just think knowing that there's potential monies coming in that can be used for vehicles, let's give them 2 cars
What if
and
the
hold
money
on.
doesn't come in for 2 years?
I think they can handle what's in their fleet with 2 cars for this year at least, and then next year we can look if they need another car, we get another
If
car
they run
then.
these cars like you said, you're saying 60 miles, whatever, but they run, they idle. You better get the 3 cars and that's the end of it. That ends it. Just get them. This way you don't have to worry about next year or the year after even.
Well,
But
the year
there's,
after, they're still coming back for more cars.
What?
they're
Still
still,
going to come back for.
They're going to come back?
Yeah.
Well, we got a stop sign too.
They're trying to do 4 cars every 2 years. That's their game plan. And it doesn't seem to work. That's why,
Well-
at this point, the DEA money is a sure thing. We just don't know when it's coming. Is it next month or next year? But we know they're going to share in a portion of millions of dollars. They're going to get that
I'll tell
percentage
you
part
what,
of it.
I
That's
worry
why
about
since it
today,
can't
not
be
next
used
year,
for
not tomorrow.
salaries,
You know, you got to get now.
Let them use it for equipment.
Yeah, you got to do that. That's right.
whatever you decide you want to do, John. Right now, we're just deciding, and we need by the 31st, so I think it's 2 or 3 cars is on the table. I think we're all in agreement with the officer
We're gonna
now.
make a decision, this is the budget, we gotta make a decision now, so like that we could get this over with, and then be prepared for.
Yeah, that's fine too. I'm just stating what
We're gonna keep
looking at. It's-
arguing about it, and keep arguing about it, and everything, and then it's not gonna get nowhere.
Call the council, get your answer. You know where Charlie and me are at?
Right.
We're 2.
Jose?
3 and 1.
John?
What's this? You're going to vote now? What are you talking about?
Voting right
Yeah.
now.
Vote 3.
Cars.
3.
All 3?
And the cop.
And the cop.
And a cop, yes.
There it is.
And my voice is all.
And I'll even do the EMS too, the body, the chassis, whatever.
Well, I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think.
and I'll
we-
have all
I'll get
the,
it now. Put my vote
I
up
will
there.
have all the information for everybody.
That's all.
What, you got a pot of gold somewhere,
Put
John?
it ahead of time. You might as well do it, you're gonna get it anyway, you're gonna get it, what's the difference? If it ain't today, the next, you're gonna get it.
Let me ask you a question.
Safety, you gotta get it.
There's, for example, if we turn around, if that money comes in later, and we could pull out of that MCIs, right?
No.
No, but you're
Once you're in, because they're going through a bond deal based on
Okay.
these.
So that's kind of what, not that I'm concerned with it, but if we give them 3 cars now and that money comes in that we have no say over, they can go out and buy 6 more cars anyway and have 9 brand-new cars sitting out there.
Let me
At
say
least we can have a
something. Let me say
minimum,
something.
we have control over one less vehicle
I
now.
want to add more to this. You get the 3 cars, and you put a stop sign up with the chief, that's all. You gotta do it. You put a stop sign up.
But you can't
Well,
put
you
stop
can't,
signs. He's
that's-
gonna be back in 2 years saying, you know, I've got 4 or 5 cars that are blown up and
Okay,
dead
yeah, well,
back there.
then if I'm still around, if I'm here or
But
not here,
that-
outside.
the problem, Johnny, is we're not worrying about a budget that's 2 years from now. We're worrying about this year's budget. So that's why we're
That's
discussing
why
it
you should
now.
get the cars and forget about it. That's what you gotta get the 3.
Yeah, that's fine. And next year when they come and say they want 4 more cars,
No.
that's,
Well, Ali Pop's like, no.
listen, we did this last year, they asked for 4 cars, this year they asked for 6. So don't tell me they're not gonna come back next year and ask for more.
We'll see,
for
we'll
4
see, we'll
cars last year and
see.
got
We
none.
can't drown ourselves, but I know one thing.
Right.
If our heads are above the water, then we're safe. Chief, the mayor, the head's above water, that's it. Right, Mr. Zanga?
Joe, what's the impact on us if we do this?
Rita Cop, what's our impact? Where are we at?
Well, what we talked about last time was $72,000 the budget was going to go up, which was $40,000 for the cop, who's going to be hired on April 1st. Court was a deputy, $15,000. Court
Which we'll
clerk,
probably never use.
Right.
yeah, court clerk, $1,200 more. OEM, $2,500, OEM OE, $14,000, that was $72,007. And what I did was, we're bringing in more EMS revenue, $20,000. Construction code revenue, $25,000 more, and then surplus, $27,700. So it still keeps the tax rate at 3.99.
Even
With the
with the
three-
3 cars.
3 cars is going to be next year's budget. That's not in this year's budget. You're going to go through MCIA. You might have an interest payment in December, maybe, but it's only going to be for a couple $1,000s. But the principal and interest mainly will be paid in 21's budget. So that's where one of the leases, I was saying before, one of the leases falls off in 21 for $24,000. This, with 3 cars, would probably be about 50, somewhere around there. So next year's budget will have about a $25,000 increase in MCIA payments.
Joe, I got a question. Can you, if that DEA money comes in, can you use that to pay down some of the debt service?
I don't know. That I'm not sure of.
Law enforcement
No.
purposes only.
I
Yeah,
think it's
that's the only
expenses, like
They can go out
equipment.
and buy radars, guns, they can buy anything they want for the police department, but they can't use it for salaries or anything like that.
But then we could turn around, and once that DA money comes in and all, that could buy equipment and everything, so we could take
We
that
could
off
take
out
that
of their
money
out of
off.
the budget.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
was
yeah,
saying.
we
You
can
can
tell them the
redivert
next
it.
time around, we tell them, you know, you need 4 new cars, go write a check.
Well,
Have the
also, no,
prosecutor
well,
sign
also
off.
equipment.
We're talking about
Also equipment
other
on
part
it,
of
when you
their
have,
budget there.
on their budget, they have
No, but-
equipment stuff
Right,
and
we take
everything.
equipment, we just tell them, you got money in there from the DEA, go use that towards equipment
Right,
until you run out of money.
And then decrease his other expense budget next
Right.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, they just can't
You
pay
guys can just
salaries, they
speak
can't
to
pay
police.
salaries.
Salaries,
Yeah,
that's
no
the only
salaries,
thing.
correct.
No police paychecks. Everything else is pretty much fair game.
I do have one other thing I'd like to bring up. Other than the police department, if everybody's done with that. At the last meeting, the code enforcement were up there, and I had suggested that we give them 35. They were looking for 3750. I spoke to Joe, and even if we went up to that 3750, we're still within that $3,000 that was within their budget, barring any major events.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually raise that up to 3750, because the 250, it was could be a potential impact of $90 or so on the budget if it stays the same way as it was.
Yeah, I don't-
So
I don't think
I'd like to
it should
put,
be
because that's what their normal hourly rate is,
Right.
so I'd like to just keep it at
Yeah, I remember we
3750.
talked about that in
not
the
that
last
much money.
budget, that
Right.
they were kind of getting
Yeah, so
shafted a little.
I just wanted to bring that up, so if that's all right with
No, I
everybody else,
agree,
I'd like to
yeah.
bring that back up
I have
today.
no problem with that,
Yeah, I don't have
but
any
I thought we
problem with
just agreed on 35, but that's fine. At 3750 is fine.
50 is fine.
Right, okay,
$90 more.
that's all I have.
That's good. We got it out of the way, that's it.
All right, I guess we can open it to the public?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, before we do that, I got a question.
Say anything you want. Yell at
When
us.
is this whole hot box and everything, so like that, the springtime, we can start patching some of these roads?
Well, the hot box is in the capital plan, I believe, right? That 41,000, that was the 41,000? Yeah. So you usually don't do your ordinance till probably June, July, because you want to adopt the budget first and have the down payment money in there. So most likely, May, June, you can do first and second reading. Available to spend probably July, so you probably won't have it for the spring. Yeah, I mean, if it's a capital, you gotta wait till the budget.
It's coming though, Jose.
How's that?
Yes.
Welcome to government.
You need your 5% down payment to pay for the stuff.
All right, so now we can open it to the public?
Yeah, second.
Make a motion to open to the public,
Second.
or should I say open to Dulcie?
All in favor?
Aye.
You weren't quick enough. I was all.
I was gonna say, close it.
I was going to ask him afterwards, but I'll ask.
Why not?
You know. Hello, you know who I am. Joe. How much is the budget for the municipal lines?
Municipal Alliance. Your municipal alliance doesn't have a tax budget, they have a trust fund. Drug and alcohol has a trust fund where they spend money.
So, but don't we fund that trust fund?
No, you get donations for that through the box, the clothing bins, come in and goes through the trust fund, and then the salary for the coordinator is in admin.
Did we get out of the county thing?
Yeah. We're at the county thing, so when they get money.
That's why I
for-
was wondering, because that money used to come from the county and it doesn't anymore, so we're funding it now.
You get donations from the clothing bin that goes into the trust, and then they use it for certain events during the year. So that's what they
So
use,
the only thing we're paying for is the salary.
salary right now. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Why don't you?
Make a motion to close the public portion?
All in favor?
Aye. Making a motion to close the meeting?
Make a motion to close it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So you're gonna introduce the budget April 6th to read the introduction.
April 6th is the,
Option B, or
so April 6th, and then we're gonna wait until
May 3rd, I think, is the meeting.